Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 360 Holds live Instagram, and I'm joined this evening by Simon Morgan. How are you, Simon?
I'm good, thank you. What about you?
Cool. Yeah, I'm very good. And obviously, you can see that I readdressed my hair situation from earlier on.
By yourself?
Not really. No, it's not. Don't think it's really improved much, to be honest. But you know, it's not sticking up quite as much as it was.
Okay.
Just for those of you out there who don't know who I am, my name's Gaz Parry, and I am a lifer, as some would say. So I'm a lifer in climbing. I've climbed since I was 12 years old. I sell holds. I sell 360 holds amongst lots of other brands. I route set in the United Kingdom. I've set internationally. I've set nationally. I've competed internationally. And basically, I've been around climbing and climbing holds quite a long time. But so has Simon. Simon, you were born in 1983, so 10 years after me. And you began climbing at 1996.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, so a relatively young start for that era. Not quite as young as climbers start nowadays.
Yeah, even at that time, my competitors started some even 10 years before me. So I was quite old in our area when I started.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned competitors straight away. So obviously you're a climber. You are a hold shaper. You are one of the main people behind the shapes of 360. But you began your early climbing career essentially in the competitive arena.
Yeah, that's what we could say. Yeah, I used to compete a little bit, and actually at that year when I started climbing, I think that Clement Bechan was already world youth champion.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So it was not easy for me to compete with him as a beginner.
So a long, obviously, as we all know, there is a long line of very, very good Slovenian climbers, not only on the rock, but also in the competition arena as well. And still that is very strong today.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the. I'm going to bring this question really quick, actually. Who's the best climber, Katja Vidmar or Maya Vidmar?
It's hard to say what is the best. They both have different styles, so they were specialized in different climbing. Like Maya was mostly competing lead and Katja mostly boulders, so it's hard to say who's best climber.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's super impressive that a pair of sisters like that, one excels in bouldering and one excels in route climbing as well, and it really just goes to show sort of the depth of talent that is in and around Slovenia and Slovenian climbing. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
So you also worked with the Slovenian team as well. You were working as a coach for the senior team and the juniors as well?
Yeah. I actually worked many years as a coach with youth team and then as a coach and team manager with senior team as well for a couple of years. I'm not sure, 3, 4, something like this.
And how was that as an experience?
It was good. It was a big challenge, and it was hard, especially in back in these days. There was not a lot of money. And we struggle a lot. We had to save every euro to go on all comps, especially with very, very small budget. We had 4 or 5 top class competitors who kind of had to go to all the comps. So it was hard. It was just not an option to leave someone who can be on podium at home. But it was good. It was challenging, and it was good experience.
Okay, cool. And I'm guessing then, as a competitor yourself, as a route setter, and also as the team coach, that's allowed you to take a lot of things away from those experiences and bring them to hold shaping.
Yeah, like hold shaping is completely different world, and you can pull some experience from everything, like even from your life, from other sports, from whatever. It's there is many things involved. It's a big puzzle, and you never know what is missing. And finally, on some days, you can shape like crazy. You can have thousands of ideas. You feel like you can shape 5 ranges in one day, and some days are just you're shaping. You make 10 shapes, and everything is garbage. So.
I think there's a few of us that know that out there. I've had a little dabble once or twice playing with some foam, and I know a friend of mine, Mike Langley's, also had a little play as well. And I think we definitely all agree that it is actually quite a hard job. It's definitely not for everybody. And you and the 360 team really do sort of take it to another level of sizes in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of the early stuff that 360 came out with was not only eye-catching in sort of colorways, but also just in sheer size of some of the things that you made. It's really changed the game a little bit.
Yeah, it was a bit different, and that was actually the idea since beginning, to bring on market something different. And if that is big, why not? If we can make it, let's make it. So we didn't want to follow like bestsellers to start with jugs as normally new companies do. And we just wanted to bring something eye-catching to have a boost since from the start, and to bring something on comps that people can see, and if that's a good shape, then they will buy it.
Yeah, it's interesting witnessing the change of the competitions over the years. I mean, I actually managed to compete at Cran a few times, and I think the last time was, let me just have a look at it, 2006 was the last time that I climbed there. And I was really lucky to go back in 2017 and commentate on the event there. And sadly, I don't think we're going to see another competition in Cran at that wall anymore, are we?
I don't think so. Actually, I'm not that much into route setting now, so I really don't know, but yeah, I just know that this year it's not gonna be a comp there. It's gonna be in Ljubljana.
At a new venue.
Yeah.
Cool. That'll be quite exciting then, and let's fingers crossed that it is actually going to happen and go ahead at the moment. Who knows?
Yeah, that's another thing. It still is on calendar, but nobody knows what will happen. Yeah.
So back to the shaping then a little bit. What was the first hold that you shaped? What was the first, can you give us a bit of an idea of what it was?
First hold which I shaped was, actually I have no idea what was the very first one, but I shaped for a few other brands. Like they asked me if I want to try something, and I was working a little bit for City Wall at that day, that was, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago.
Wow.
And it was actually soon after I started climbing. I was already involved in route setting a little bit and shaping after that, as Slovenia is very small, and there is also, in terms of brands, there is
there's quite a lot of brands in Slovenia.
Quite a lot of brands, especially for this area, and for Slovenia with 2 million people. And I'm good friend of Alyosha Grom, who is founder of Lapis Holds, and I shaped a few holds with him, and then alone with City Wall. And yeah, before I was when I was around 18, I did around more than 100 wooden volumes. I was really into this because at that time there was not many volumes, and the wooden volumes was something what I was able to do, and it helped me a lot with root setting.
So did you use those in any events specifically, or any big events?
Not big events. Wooden volumes, I wouldn't say so. Like they were on all nationals because I was setting a lot on nationals. Yeah. And there were a few on World Cup, even in Kran. So maybe you competed on some of them because because I actually set in at that time when you competed.
Like I said, 2006 was the last time that I competed in Crown.
Yeah, I was
there I was there a few times.
I was setting there, and I have one volume here which I made. It's hard to say exactly, but it's somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago.
Wow.
One of my very first volumes.
I actually recognize those patterns. which really does go to show how old I am.
And the back side was really it was big bricolage on the back side because like the corners didn't fit at all. Like the tools which I used at the time were ancient.
but it's still in one piece.
Yeah,
unlike the volume that Yerny managed to pull off the wall at international competition recently.
Yeah, that's true. I would say that this one also texture-wise is still better than some which are on the market at this time.
No names. We'll name no names.
No.
Okay, let's hit up a few questions. Simple ones. So what's your role at 360? Is it many things, or is it just very specifically the hold shaping?
Yeah, that's hard to say. Like it's not specifically hold shaping. I wish that would be the only thing. But I'm involved in many segments. Like we have 3 main parts in the company, and one is polyurethane, and one is fiberglass, and one wood. So I'm trying I need to help like in every segment of this, like with new shapes, with new technology, with new tools, how to improve process, how to improve quality, and so on. So that's something what I do, like I would say more than 50% of time.
So it's quite an interesting job then in a lot of different aspects. You're not just focusing on shaping holds.
It's super interesting and super exhausting at the same time.
So I'm guessing that's been a massive challenge in the last few weeks, to be honest, as to how you've been able to still operate the company to a certain level. With the challenges that the world is facing at the moment. How's that been? Yeah,
we struggle, like I would say most or every climbing hold brand. Gyms are closed, so they don't buy holds. And we have to change a few lines, and we are searching for new products. We developed a few new products already. We'll launch one of them tomorrow, by the way.
Cool.
So there are a few new products, not just for climbing, also for some other sports. So we're just searching for work for our employees, that we can keep them until this situation is around, and then we can start focusing on holds again.
Yeah, it's interesting that even though the market hasn't been replaced by people building walls at home, but the market has definitely increased from people wanting to build walls at home, whether it be to supply of plywood or supply of T-nuts or supply of holds themselves or wooden holds. That market has expanded, and I guess it has been very challenging for a lot of people, but there is still things happening out there and still things moving. So I'm guessing your focus has shifted a little bit to that part of the market at the moment.
Yeah, we had to adapt a little bit and as much as possible in that short time. But still, regarding the size of our company or production, it was really hard. Like we cannot sell to the holds for home walls as much as for climbing gyms. So our capacity is quite big. We can produce more than 100 volumes per day, fiberglass volumes. So it's impossible to sell that much to customers who are using this mold.
And they don't have big enough walls either.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, it's the same with PU holds. Like our capacity, production capacity is way bigger than requests at the moment. So we have we have to switch.
So, would you be able to take us through sort of a bit of a process from concept to the product going to the climbing wall? Would you give us a bit of an idea of the stages through maybe a bit of your thought process, the shaping? We've seen some videos where you're shaping with a chainsaw, which looks pretty exciting, into development and then production, and then maybe quality control, and then beyond into the climbing wall itself.
Yeah, well, everything actually starts here in this room.
Cool.
It's our shaping room, and here most of the ideas are coming from, and so most of the holds, the first shapes are made out of foam. We are using many different foams. It depends on brand, on range. It depends on many things. We are also testing a lot the lighter and darker, more heavy foams with more texture, with less texture, and so on. So there is no strict specific rule that this foam is used only for this. And we are shaping also sometimes with wood, and we were building pyramids. We are also shaping the volumes out of wood sometimes. So after we shape a hold or range, we just put them on shelves normally, like here for a few days or a week, and we need to sleep over. We need to rethink if that was a good idea or not, because many times it happens that you're shaping one hold like a few hours and maybe a few days, and finally you kind of like it because you spent that much time with that piece of foam that you are already tired, and you just decide, okay, I like it. And then it can happen that after a few days, when you check that piece again, you just doesn't work. You change your mind. So once shape looks good to me after a couple of days or after a week, then that's the good shape.
Okay, and then so when you've got the shape and you think you like it, do you actually then go and show that to some of the other people at the company as well and get some feedback and get some other opinions as well?
Yeah, like we actually we shape together with Katya and with Vesi sometimes, and sometimes with some other shapers from other companies. Whenever it's a chance to shape with, and I'm always happy to share opinion also during shaping, and to discuss how to make lines and so on. It's really helpful, and but finally you have to decide by yourself and finish the hold by yourself. It's similar with route setting. Like you set the boulder, and when other route setters are around, they tell you like, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. What about changing this? What about changing that? But finally, you have to do and make changes, and
you got to make your own decisions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So from your piece of foam that you've shaped, and now you've decided that that is a winner hold.
Yeah.
What's the next stage?
Then it mostly depends, is this wood or is this fiberglass or polyurethane? And it goes to different molding department. With wood, there is no molding department. It goes to the office, and I show a piece of wood. Okay, now you have to put in computer.
Okay.
Since last year, we have a CNC machine in house, so we produce also wood. From zero, from plywood, and yeah, we have to draw and make all files and so on.
Yeah.
But with fiberglass, yeah, it goes to molding, and the molding process in fiberglass is it's kind of pain in the ass. It's really long. It normally takes about 4 weeks to finish.
Wow.
To finish mold, because you cannot speed up the layers. You can put 1 layer per day. If you speed it up, it can be a big disaster. So,
one of the questions on the screen there is from Henrik Broling. How come fiberglass volumes are so very expensive?
Oh, that's maybe I just answered.
Okay.
with the time which we spent with just to make a mold, and also the other thing is that fiberglass volumes, they're made by hand. They're not made by machine. So in our production line, every fiberglass volume goes through hands of minimum 15 people.
Wow.
Minimum. So if every person works on this piece, just, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes, it's already something. And all the process is not as fast as polyurethane. Material is a bit cheaper, but process itself, it's quite long.
And when I first started working with 360 and I started looking at the price list and the shapes and stuff, I'd look at some of the shapes and I'd go, oh, wow, they look really cool. That looks really cool. And then I'd look down at the dimensions and I'd be like, wow. It's just like, it's so big that you can't even lift it yourself.
Yes,
some of the fiberglass volumes.
No, you can. That's actually the
maybe you can lift it, but you can't put it on the wall.
You can. I can put every single piece of fiberglass on the wall by myself.
That's because you're really strong.
that's actually my my limit of the size. Like if the volume would be that big that I cannot lift it on vertical wall and fix it by myself, then it's too big maybe.
Yeah.
But we wanted to bring on market some big pieces which were missing, in our opinion. So yeah, we've done big barrel with hot barrel with which is about 2 meters wide, and yeah, it's cool. It's good to have some big volumes on the wall.
And it's obviously it's very good for people to see these things, you know, from in a competition element, to be able to see what climbers are climbing on from a distance, but also in a sort of inspirational element as well. And one of the climbing centres in the UK, Reading Climbing Centre, they've got a big set of some of the largest fiberglass volumes of 360 make. And they really do rotate them round different, not just different boulders, but they also have them on routes as well. So that recently they had a route there and it was basically 6C, but it was all the biggest volumes they had on this one piece of wall. It totally dominated the wall, and it was only one route on a very large section of wall, so it's quite committing. but it was absolutely amazing. You climbed it with every single body part, your head, your knee, your hip, your thigh. You could lie down on one of the volumes. It was just totally insane to climb. But the beauty about it was that it was a super accessible grade as well. I mean, 6C is still quite hard, but in comparison with how a lot of people will set with these really big holes, they want to set like an amazing 8A, which not many people go on. But to be able to commit to putting very expensive holds on a very popular route, I think is a really important change in the market in the last few years.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see this change in the last years. I believe the difference is also because gyms are getting more people. There is more people who are paying the entrance to the gyms, and they can afford these volumes and that many volumes, so they can switch and between easy and hard boulders. And also I believe that route setters change their mind a little bit, and they give a chance also to
everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To everybody to touch these volumes and to climb on them, because sometimes even with some big pieces which can be useful for World Cups and high level competitions, it's just great to set V1 out of this and give a chance to every climber.
I think the first time I really appreciated it was when I went to Studio Block. Not this year's Studio Block, the year before. I think you were setting there as well that year.
Yeah.
And Studio Block is a competition where there's 80 boulders, 20 easy, 20 medium, 20 hard, 20 very hard.
Yeah.
But you can almost go to that competition without an eye or a thought of competing. You just go around, and it's like being a child in a sweet shop. And it doesn't matter what grade boulders are, you just want to climb everything. And it's because everything is made out of super high quality holds, usually quite big holds. Everything just looks good, and it can be like a 5+ or an 8+, and you don't care. You just get on it because they look amazing. It doesn't matter the grade. It's quite a cool position to be in. And that sort of experience is coming away from competition and into the indoor gyms as well.
Yeah. It was the Studio Block is one of the best comps on the planet, and it's the also the style. How do you say it is 80 boulders.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
Yeah, it's a bit different, and it's very. When you enter the gym, you just want to climb everything, and Robert and all the team around, they really care about this. They care about good quality of holds, good quality of setting, and everything around. So it makes you feel good to be there and to climb these boulders. So
back to the production again. We were obviously at the talking about the fiberglass a little bit, and so what are the stages after you let's say you pop the hold out of the mold? What's the next steps there?
It a little depends if that's a dual texture or not. So it goes to different parts. So full texture goes to one department, and dual text go to another. There is sanding. They have to put the volume to be flat behind, and they have to work on the top coating and put some texture on, and they have to check the fixing points if there is everything okay, and two layers of paint and so on. So it has to dry, and also like all the process, I think from mold till packing of one volume, it takes normally 4 days.
Okay, cool. So quite a lot of work, and a lot of stages and a lot of people as well. And then obviously there is quality control, quality checking, and then packaging.
It's actually that's on the same part, on the same table actually.
Yeah.
The people who are packing holds, they do the quality control.
And then one of the things that always amazes me, and obviously I do work with quite a lot of brands, and one of the things that always amazes me is how somebody in an office puts together the whole shipping package, because you can be shipping a hold that's this big and a hold that's this big, and it just seems like totally mind-boggling how these things are all put together and constructed and packed and then obviously shipped around the world, and 360 is even available in the US as well. So it's definitely a global market nowadays for these quite extreme sizes of holds. It seems super complex, the whole shipping organization side of things.
Yeah, shipping is really complex, especially with our hold size. And we every time when we get some new person into office, it's a big challenge to teach them how to think, how packing goes. The best way would be that that person who is working and who is organizing transport, that this person would pack the holds for a month or two.
and try and understand the combinations of what works together and what doesn't.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately not possible, and they just have to imagine. They have to be in touch with these people a little bit, and usually they just ask a more experienced person in the company who can give them the idea. Okay, normally we know by the amount of holds or amount of money how big is the pallet roughly, and then we check how many big pieces, like if there is any piece bigger than normal Euro pallet,
standard pallet. Yeah,
and then based on this we calculate what approximately would be the size, and we never know perfectly until everything is packed.
I always have this vision that you have a load of little miniature volumes and miniature fiberglass volumes, and there's a person in the office just trying to stack them into a little box.
Yeah, that would be actually very, very useful, but it might be very, very expensive as well to have one person just doing this.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So you not only shape for 360, you also shape for some other brands as well?
Yeah, actually I do. We shape between the brands which we produced in house. Sometimes we shape together with the other brand owners.
So does the brand owner come into the office then and work with yourself?
Yeah. Also this, or we go somewhere. So we just want to exchange the opinion as many times as that's possible, and it's not very often. So
yeah, because I assume anybody coming to yourselves with a brand, obviously they have their own vision, don't they? They have what they would like to try and bring to the market, what they would like to change, and their stamp that they would like to put on their product.
Yeah, we speak online, like with video chat. When we show shapes to each other, we send the photos to each other, and because we also, between brands which we have in house, we would like to have a wide variety of holds. Because it's easy that two different brands can bring out very similar product, because by accident two shapers on the world had the same or very similar idea. So with having more brands in house, it's really, that's kind of benefit in terms of shapes as well. So so once someone brings a range out, and our range, for example, is similar and it's not in molding yet, we still have time to change it or to make something else.
And it's still, now there's a lot of brands out there now, and even in the last year or two, there's a lot of new brands come to the market.
Yeah.
But it still really does impress me how people are still bringing something new to the game. You know, in the holds from 360, like juggy balls as an example. Now the ball has existed in the climbing arena for quite a long time, but for you guys just to tweak it that little bit and create something that is actually quite special, and now ranges from like super small to super big, where you could pretty much have a bath in it.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of an eye to tweak something a little bit and actually make something that's quite a good big statement, you know, something that's very interesting. And it really impresses me all the time how setters and shapers that are working with them come out with something that is a little bit different, because you would think a crimp is a crimp, but no, it's not. there's a lot of variations on that theme out there.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, the hardest thing in shaping 360 is to come out with something which is still signature of 360.
Yeah.
So we have to keep it on the same, more or less on the same line, and to bring something interesting and something different. And I would say it's harder to shape 360 than most of other brands I shape for. I think I shaped hundreds, maybe thousands of holds which didn't fit to 360, and we never poured them, we never made a mold, or we will probably never put them in production. I have some shapes here, like which were shaped on very beginning, on first few months after 360 was born, and for example this piece, and this little crimp, and this one.
A very different style to the majority of 360 stuff.
Yeah.
And but you can also at the same time, as you look at that style of hold, you can almost imagine it within other brand ranges.
Yeah, exactly. Like these shapes just didn't fit to 360, and we never put them in production, and that's why just easier to shape something a little bit different for other brands, which looks cool in different way, or we just change material and so on. But with 360, we would really like to keep it basic and still interesting for people, and that's really challenging.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Make circle interesting for everyone, like year by year. It's a big challenge, but it's
okay.
I like it.
A couple of simple questions. If you had to choose between shaping and setting, what would you choose?
That's quite easy. Root setting. That's because, like, there will be always you need holds, so someone will shape instead of me, so I can still play with holds. But just shape holds, and that I would never have a chance to put them on the wall. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
You don't see, you're not happy with the hold when you just shape it. You're happy when you put it on the wall. If we compare this maybe to something, maybe to root setting, is like if you would root set and you would never watch anyone to climb or try the boulder, you would just root set. That I think wouldn't be really fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be fun for a week or two, but then you would get bored.
So do you also prototype quite a lot? So do you actually make a first attempt at a hold or a first attempt at a volume, and then do you root set with it yourself in a small wall or something like that?
Yeah, we do that since first day. Most of the first products, we test them by ourselves before we put them on the market. And we actually, in these days or this year, we went even we did extra step. We shape holds which we think that they might be interesting for a range, and we prototype them. We make a sample, and we don't shape the range yet. We just play with materials and with shapes, and we make complete product. We put them on the wall, and then we try to imagine how would it work, and what changes can we do. Because before it happened to us a few times that we released the range, and then after we tried the holds, we just figure out then if we would change just a little bit in that corner and just this line would be slightly different, it would be so much better.
Yeah.
So that's why we're trying to do as much products to produce products before we really shape the full range.
I think every setter out there, anybody listening to this that does a root set would be able to totally appreciate that, because we all set with holds from time to time, and we're like, oh, this is a really, really nice hold. This has got a beautiful position for the pinch, for the thumb, but then suddenly there's like this ripple on the side, and you're like, oh no, it doesn't quite work for what I wanted to do. And I think that comes for a lot of times from when shapers and hold creators try and put too much into a hold, and it almost ruins a beautiful thing. So keeping them a little bit cleaner and a little bit more, not one use, but a little bit more obvious to what the job is, I think does work super well, which a lot of times seems to be the direction of 360.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But the other thing is also that after you shape the hold, you can the final product is much different than you normally expect, because there is like here is no bolts and here no holes and so on. So once you drill it, there is a edge, and if something goes wrong, it just happens that the final product is not as good as a shape on the beginning, and then you figure out, for example, as you said before, here would be a hole for a bolt, and then suddenly you have a so that's why just prototyping and producing samples before they're so much better. But you can, like, through more experienced you are, more you can predict these situations. There are also during process, production process, especially new ideas with different textures or with dual texture, it makes production process more complicated. And then you can find the balance between final price, production price, and the shape and the idea of shaper. Because many times we want to, when we're shaping, we want to make it super complex, and then we just realized, okay, that's not going to work in production.
So you mentioned dual text there, and we've not spoken about dual text at all, but dual text does play a very big part in the 360 line. And now you do see it in quite a lot of other brands, but it has also been around for quite a long time as well. A lot of people have played with it in polyester before, which is dual text, but you can still actually get quite a lot of friction out of polyester dual text. But can you give us a little bit more insider knowledge into the whole dual text side of the production?
Yeah, I can show you again. Is a big difference between every part of every material. So polyurethane, dual text, and fiberglass, and simple volumes like wooden volumes. Dual text the process is completely different. So, for example, for polyurethane, we make a shape, and we put dual texture on it before we mold the hole.
So that is a foam piece.
Exactly.
That you just showed us.
That's one of the newest juggy balls dual texture. So
Yeah.
that's the first shape. So it's going to be molded in next days.
Okay, cool. Bit of an insight ahead of the game there.
Yeah.
Um,
And with fiberglass is different. So we make dual tex. We have different molds for dual tex and for full texture. So after most of the work in production for fiberglass dual texture happens after we remold the piece.
okay.
And with polyurethane is that you take, once you demold the hold, it's already done. You just have
done.
And that's
so
it.
again with the comparison between the polyurethane Dual-Tex and the fiberglass Dual-Tex, fiberglass Dual-Tex is still much more complex.
It's super complex.
Yet again, more stages.
Yeah.
And
it's
I assume the number of stages is the same no matter how big that hold is.
Yeah.
If it's this big or really big and it's Dual-Tex, it still has all the same steps to go through.
Yeah, that's why we were producing the small pieces of Dual-Tex fiberglass. We are producing with zero profit. Like it's just on the line because it's so much work, similar amount of minutes or hours per product for small piece and for that big piece.
Yeah.
And the price is different, and for small piece you cannot charge it that much, so it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a real balancing act, I suppose, at that end when it comes to the small things. And it's and I'm assuming that the small things are not that profitable, and the big things again are almost a bit of a pain. And really, there's like a middle ground, which is the
exactly
most popular stuff as well.
Yeah.
But also the ones that really work out very well much better in production.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's the most popular size is something what keeps us alive, let's say.
Yeah, I think as it does with everybody in this industry within holds for sure. So what made you start a hold company? What was the actual, because obviously you did some coaching, you were doing route setting, you did a bit of shaping here, a bit of shaping there. What was the actual real impetus to step up and say, right, okay, let's do this, let's make a new company?
Yeah, it was really funny story behind. I shaped quite a lot in the last years before we established the company, and my friends they keep asking me why I'm not shaping for myself and why I'm shaping for other brands. And one friend, co-owner Stanko, he asked me this question that many times that we just decided, okay, so
stop asking.
Just let's make a company and let's produce holds. And it takes us quite a few years to develop materials and develop molding process, because we didn't know much about that and at that time. And after 3 or 4 years of research and developing it, we actually then we met the third friend came around and he asked me the same question, that why we don't start, that we already have some products and we should start selling it, and then we made the company.
So what's the favorite set? What's your favorite set in 360 to work with?
I think they're juggy balls.
I think they're a very popular shape.
Yeah.
I mean, you showed us one of the new ones there. Just try and give us a bit of an overview of how juggy balls work, because they're quite varied as well in the range.
Yeah, they keep varying even more. So there are there actually I have the one the biggest one I have here.
Oh yeah.
That's the biggest one, and
that's the one that we nicknamed the bathtub.
Yeah, good one. And actually here I have the smallest with just
nice.
it's like we molded. This is the first product from yesterday. We had a photo shooting yesterday for this, and that's the first Juggy Balls Pew dual texture.
That looks a really good hold, actually. I like the look of that one.
So we have several. Like the shape is very basic. They're like we just turn the ball or piece of the ball to kind of slopey, juggy shape, and it goes from very deep jugs to some very slopey and not so juggy balls.
It's I personally, as a setter, do like this sort of repetitive theme of a style of a hold, and especially when it's a hold that is very hard to identify as a climber.
Yeah.
And you don't really know whether it is going to be essentially flat or slightly in-cut or like really deep, like some of the Juggy balls. We had 360 and Simple in the Blockfest competitions this year in the UK. And they were white in colour, so they were white Dual-Tex. Both components of the hold were white, and quite a few walls in the UK now are white. So they actually worked quite well. In spotlights, they looked amazing. In normal light, it was a bit different, but for the finals, it looked amazing. But I set this one problem that was like a little skip and a catch of this undercut. But because everything was white, including the wall, the Dual-Tex and the no-tex and the tex, then it was really hard to actually judge the distance. So almost everybody that tried the move on the first go just didn't quite go far enough because they had nothing to see. There was nothing to judge it off. There was no chalk on it because it was white. There was no difference between the hold and the wall. So almost everybody fell off at first go. And then you did it dead easy second go, and it was like such an easy move, but it was so easy to drop.
Yeah, that's, I would say, some of the most popular root setters challenges or games to play with this dual texture and with angles, so you cannot recognize it as a competitor, and that freaks out competitors normally. So, some of them, those which are able to adapt and which it's part of the game, so it's really cool to play with dual texture, especially with, in this case, with Juggy balls. So you can stack them together and close the edges, so you can it's even harder to recognize which shape is it once you close it like this and you change the angle, and
for sure.
You have to feel it, and you have to learn through try after try, and that makes also competition more interesting.
And obviously, when you're coming also from a training background and a route setting background and a competitive background, then that is something that I assume is always in the mind as well. How not only is this an interesting hold, but how can I actually work with it? How can I make it work with other holds? And I'm assuming you're sort of imagining moves sometimes as you make the hold. You imagine how you would actually use it.
Always. Every, like, most of the time when you shape the hold, you imagine the moves. So it's part of shaping. It's a big part of shaping.
Yeah.
It's you just think how to turn it in different positions, different angles. You imagine boulders sometimes, especially when you shape all range. It's you set many boulders in your head before you shape the holds to the end. So it makes you it opens your eyes a little bit, and it boosts a little bit your imagination, let's say, to shape the right lines and to to pull out of the foam as much as possible if you think about the moves and the boulders.
Okay, let's do another couple of quick questions. What's your favorite beer?
My favorite beer, I would say every beer after good root setting session or after good shaping session. So every beer after this feels good.
I can going back to Studio Block from 2 years ago, and because we were there quite early at that event, and one of the first things I can remember was basically being given a beer as we walked through the door. It was like, yeah, this is going to be a cool weekend, and yeah, it was definitely a lot of beers drunk at that event that weekend for sure. But it was yeah, amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to it next year. Let's have another look. Another question. So this is a little bit towards the setting. Do shapes follow function, or does function follow shape?
That's kind of, yeah, philosophic sense, and I would say it's similar as a root setter. If you think like, do I want to set something which looks nice or something which is good for climbing and it climbs nice? So what do you want? You want both, right?
Yeah.
You want good looking boulder which is good for climbing, and that's the goal, but sometimes just doesn't work either way. So it can happen, like as a setter and as a shaper, it can happen that it's not even nice, and it in terms of like it's not very functional and it's not very very nice. So that's something what it's just good to recognize before you make a range and launch it. So but in general, we 360 we need like we follow the basic idea first. So we try to imagine what would fit, what kind of shape would fit to 360, like juggy balls, which were like it looks like a normal or very basic idea after balls, but it took us like 5 years to come to this idea.
Yeah.
Once we shape it, I was super happy to have this range. But before that, actually, it was last summer when we started shaping, and I knew that we have to launch new range, and I was under pressure.
Really happy with it.
I was under pressure before we started shaping.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you there, Simon, because it looks like we've only got a few seconds remaining in this live feed. So I just want to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for bringing the holds that we do enjoy all over the place. And I'd like to thank everybody else for joining us and in the Insiders. And hopefully I will see you all soon. And hopefully I'll see you, Simon, at a climbing wall in the next few weeks or months.
Thank you, guys.
Take care then. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Bye-bye. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. See you all soon.
See you.